It's Wednesday, which can only mean one thing here on Substack. It means it's time for Box Talk with me, LongBoxPunk. I'm Chris. I host a Sunday live stream every week talking to indie comic creators about their comics, about their process, about their inspirations, and generally just laughing and having a good time. I do these box talks every Wednesday, just about. And sometimes, like this week, I have guests on. These are post punks. They've been on my main stream before. And it's generally a time that I get to just hang out with them, and catch up, talk comics again. But it's even more, believe it or not, even more relaxed than my Sunday streams because I don't have notes in front of me. I don't have any prep work that I've done. I just start the thing and invite people in, and then we talk and hang out. So that's going to be happening on this live stream. Gonna have post punk Blake McCarthy joining me in just a bit. We'll talk about his newest comic book called Garbage Lords with a Z. Issue 1 is on Kickstarter right now for 13 more days. I happen to know all this just off of the top of my brain because I'm a backer. I was an early backer on this book. I love Blake's series Territory. And so I'm excited to see what he does with this eco-dystopian story titled Garbage Lures. He'll be on in just a little bit, but first, I already started the unboxing process because I know who this comic is from. I know what this comic is, surprisingly. Fast fulfillment on Brian Manell's part. But I know that Brian was super careful and particular packaging his books. And not only is it wrapped in bubble wrap, but also it was sandwiched between cardboard. Then that sandwich was taped into the Gemini. And so this is like ultra secure comic Kickstarter campaign shipping. So, Brian, shout out to you, my friend, for really making sure that the product arrives in just outstanding condition. I am taking mental notes because there was an issue with the delivery of one of our copies of Aha. And so taking all sorts of mental notes to make sure that our fulfillment is better going forward from CHK Comics. But back to this one, I got the standard cover of Brian's comic, The Wretched. Here it is. It is a beautiful square bound book, which I love, from my pals over at Rolling Squid Bones, which is just exciting. I love to see it. And also got the sticker bomb of all sorts of I think these were all like stretch goals. I don't remember. I can't mentally even begin to keep up with the campaigns that I back. Don't tell my wife. There's the Rolling Squid Bones logo designed by Gerald von Stoddart. And then we've got our character stickers. So there's one. There's two. Da-da-da-da. All high gloss stickers, nice and thick. Quality on these stickers is good. I can take my time on this one because, well, it's the only reward that I have to unbox this week. So, and then there is the logo, which I love the look of that. And then here's the Fractured Heart. Brian's here on Substack, if I'm not mistaken, under Fractured Heart. So if you want to keep up with him and all of the things that he has going on, that is how you do it. Yeah, we can take a peek. We got time. I hope Blake knows that it was 9 p.m. Eastern time and not 9 p.m. Mountain time. That's the current hope. So there we go. Yeah. You can scan that QR code if you take a screenshot. Then later you can go back and open that QR code to get to Brian's links, all of the Fractured Heart. Even monsters are haunted by shadows. You want to see the book? All right, here it is. From back to front. There it was. So really excited to dig into this one. Story includes strong themes, bloody violence, and strong language. Ooh. Okay, but seriously, here's a slow-mo view of one of the pages. Looks super good. I'm a nerd for like the black gutters around all the panels. And when you've got a book about monsters, that fits. So excited to dig into the Wretched. Uh, it came in immaculate condition. So uh, Blake, I will get you on. I think I have to send you like an invite thing here in just a second. This upcoming Sunday, I what time do we go live? We go live at 2 o'clock, and I have the physical comic in hand that I'm going to be talking about. And you're just going to have to tune into socials and keep an eye on all of the places to figure out who I'm going to be talking to, and the title of the comic and all those things, because my memory's gone. Like I said, I didn't prep. I don't. I don't but 2 o'clock is for sure the stream time this Sunday, because after that I'm meeting up halfway between here and Columbus with my pal and collaborator Alex M. Clark, and I'm going to be giving him all of his comp copies of Aha. We'll be sharing a brewski or two ski at Yellow Springs Brewery. So haven't been there, neither is he. Excited to hang out again with Alex. Talk comics, laugh a lot, general have good time vibes, feels. So yeah, hanging out with the Clark Bar. All right, so one other update with CHK stuff. Barricade Brigade is running. On chapter 1 is on Kickstarter. It is 93% funded as of like an hour ago. So we're getting there. Thank you to the 42 backers that we have so far. A lot of familiar names, which is always exciting. Tells me that we're doing something right to bring these people back. And we're not funded yet, which I don't like. I wish we were funded already, but that's okay because we're 93% there. We run for, I think, 2 more weeks, and then like I know we're gonna fund. It's not. I don't have any doubts that we're gonna fund. I know we're gonna get there. Um, I would just like to get there sooner than later. So if you're one of those like wait until, you don't have to be an eBay shopper and like snipe at the last second with your backing. You can do it now and save me a lot of grief and maybe keep some more hairs in my head. I would like that. So go back. Barricade Brigade 1. Again, it's got a backup B-side, 20-page story of Artifacts Part 2 from Evan Johnston, who is also in Aha, sharing Artifacts Part 1. So if you enjoyed his tale there, you're going to be double incentivized to pick up Barricade Brigade Chapter 1. We're looking at over 100 pages of comics, and you can get a physical for $20. So come on now. Come on now. Yeah, Kay has been busy making all sorts of memes of different celebrities and characters reading our comic, and you should just go literally any social media. They're being plastered everywhere. So go find all of those. Enjoy the just silliness, because we're not taking anything too seriously, or we're trying not to. But we're still. Let's see if I can figure this out. What is the? Yep. Nope. That's not what I want. Why did it do that? There we go. Oh, it's that easy? Learning stuff all the time. Blake, you should have a notification that says that I invited you to co-host on the stream. I think you should. Hey,
What's up, Chris?
gotcha, man. How are you?
Good. Appreciate you hanging out tonight. Excited to hang out and to talk some comics.
Yeah, dude, it's always good to catch up with you. Um, I I'm excited that you've got a new series coming at us. Because I loved Territory a whole heck of a lot. Fun fact, you were actually one of the first people that I reached out to about coming on my show because I was like, what indie comics do I like on Kickstarter that I can just invite those creators on? And it was you and Travis Gibb that I reached out to. So,
Well,
um,
that's awesome, man. I appreciate it. I mean, it's I'm glad that you enjoyed the book, and yeah, it's always just cool to talk to people who enjoy it, and it's awesome to see you doing your thing too. So,
yeah, yeah, it's been a wild ride going from I just want to talk to people about comics to now I'm making comics and doing the constant promo grind and all of the like fulfilling stuff. I actually have to reship. Jesse, if you're watching, I got to reship your package and get it back out to you because DHL couldn't find his house, so it got returned to me, and so now I got to figure out that whole situation. So always learning new stuff with this thing we call indie comics. Like it's just always something new. So what's been good with you, man?
oh, for sure. I mean, I'm right there with you. Like it was, I feel like every campaign, every book is a new experience, and there's always something that pops up. Like you feel like you finally start to get a hold of it, and then something else comes up that you didn't expect, and so you keep learning. But it's good, and that's actually with this new campaign and new series, definitely learning a lot. It was exciting. Like Territory was great, and it was great seeing that all the way through. But now, sort of starting something new is kind of like starting over in some ways, and
Yeah.
so learning how to navigate that, and yeah, it's been really exciting, and it's cool to kind of have a fresh start and to be able to come at it and do something new.
Yeah, I'm curious. Um, before we get into like what the book's about and all that stuff, I'm curious, like with because you launched right around when we did, right? Like July 4th, July 5th.
Yeah, July 6th was my launch date. Hmm.
Okay. So like so far of the have you do you, are you one that like looks at who your backers are as they come in or like or do you just wait until it's all said and done and then dive into the backer report?
Well, I definitely check along the way. I try to. I've learned it's a lot less stressful if you're not checking every day. You kind of come in and out.
Yeah.
I do like to check. I think kind of like what you were saying. It's cool to see. Especially once you start recognizing names, people who have read your books before or you've talked to, and who are excited about it. And then when you see those people back, it's cool to see. All right, like this is someone that has seen, has read some of my other stuff, or I got to talk to about Garbage Lords or whatever the book is, and now they're here backing it. So it's cool to see sort of that. I think it's hard because one of those things about promoting, especially, is like you talk to people, you get stuff out there, but it's really hard to tell,
Yeah.
if it's actually working or doing anything. And so when you start to see some of those names pop up, that you're like, okay, I know I talked to this person, or okay, I know this is somebody that has backed with me before. It just gives you kind of some confidence of, all right, this is actually working. I'm not just yelling into the void.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely feels like that a lot. And then I mean with my show because that came first before the comics, like I started noticing the same four or five names in the comments or in the chat here or when I was doing Instagram live before they changed their rules. And it was like, okay, like I'm starting to connect with people and like finding people that whatever I'm doing resonates with, and then being able to see those people, and then now I can say that those people are people that I've collaborated with. Like Kay is my primary collaborator and he was here almost since day one. Vaughn was one of them that was here regularly, and like even my wife early on was like, "Did you talk to Vaughn tonight?" I'm like, yeah, he was there, like number one, popped right in. So it's definitely cool to see, like look back just thinking of where I started, who was there at the beginning, and now where I am with those same people. And now that I'm like starting as a comic creator and getting out, it's like you talked about meeting people in person, like seeing them at events, uh being able to talk to people about my book, and if they don't buy it, like they sign up for the newsletter, and then I end up seeing their name on the backer report or seeing them share stuff on social media, and it's like, okay, cool, like this is whatever I'm doing is working a little bit, I think, but I'm a metrics person. So like, there's no way that you can easily, export that data and get it into a nice, neat spreadsheet. It's like, I think it's working.
Yeah, and that's, and I think, and I do think Kickstarter does a good job of at least trying to give you some of that, but like you said, at the
Yep.
end of the day, you I think really it's just recognizing kind of who like your core audience is. And I
Yeah.
think once you start to kind of figure out that that helps, one, it's a huge confidence booster of okay, there's at least somebody out there that thinks this is cool and,
Yeah.
is wanting to see what's happening. So it's not just, doing it just to do it. You know that there's somebody out there who's going to enjoy it and all that, and that's an amazing feeling. But then too, I think that kind of helps, like it helps kind of focus and develop, and because then you have sort of your group that you're talking to, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it'd be great to be able to have everyone buy your book and to have everyone do this, but like it's just not realistic, and there's so much noise and so much on social media that I think just finding who are these people that are digging what I'm doing, are interested, and how can I deliver for them, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to be your foundation. And you'll get other people here and there, and you'll get other stuff, but that core audience, man, like they're the driver for any sort of project. So yeah, I think
Mhm.
once you have that, and especially if you start, you start to talk to them a little bit, whether it's in person or just through social media or whatever, it's cool to see, because then you also get, you get that feedback of, hey, I thought this was really cool, or hey, I'm really excited about this, or I thought this was interesting, and that gives you some insight into, okay, well, maybe this is something that's really working for the story, or this is,
Yeah.
are these maybe is something that I'm trying to hint at, is are they picking up on that, or is that not really coming through? And so I think, yeah, having that core audience, to me, like that's the driver for everything. And it's just, and it's like I said, it's just so cool to have somebody, that is interested in it, and you can say, okay, we're in this together, and I'm glad you're here, and we're along for the ride. So
Yeah. Yeah. For those that aren't familiar, that don't know yet, what is Garbage Lords? Where did this come from?
yeah, so Garbage Lords is my new series. It's I've been thinking about it for a while. This was kind of the last issue or two of Territory. I knew this was sort of what my next series was going to be,
Mhm.
and so it's just it's a continuation of a lot of the Territory themes. So the summary for Garbage Lords is that basically in the not too distant future, due to sort of pollution and climate change, all that kind of stuff, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch has actually congealed into one giant landmass of garbage, essentially.
Mm.
And countries have become so short on resources that they've actually started exiling some of their poorest people there, because they just don't have the resources to take care of them. And so then you have all these people who are living on this literal island of garbage and this squalor. And so they've started to kind of form gangs to fight for control of the island. The island is sort of run by the UN as this project, but there's a lot of corruption, and they're not taking very good care of the people, let's say. And so it
Yeah.
just kind of follows a couple of the people who were born on the pile, as it's called, and they're members of a gang called the Garbage Lords, and it's just sort of a look into their life, and as they're kind of fighting for control of their lives, fighting, to get out of their situation. But then obviously there's a lot of social commentary on, sort of the state of our consumerism, of climate change, of the way that both people and products are just treated as disposable in our world today. And
Yeah.
so it's a commentary on that.
That's that's a lot, man. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's cool.
is
Well,
that
no,
something
it's
that uh like it, how do you even begin to like dial in the, oh wow, everything feels really just kind of fucked right now? Like how do you dial that into the story that you ended up with?
definitely. Well, I think so I climate change and conservation is probably like um, my biggest driver, both as sort of storytelling and what I want to do and what I'm active with and that sort of thing. And I think it was just, Territory had some of those themes, but I wanted to really focus on that a little bit more and drive those themes home. And not only that, but I wanted to kind of incorporate some of my other interests. And so this is influenced very heavily by like 90s LA street gang culture, hip hop culture, all that. So movies like, Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society, like the early 90s LA, like gangster rap scene, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so, just finding some way to incorporate those influences with sort of the climate, message I wanted to tell. And to me, it was just kind of a natural fit of like, you again, you've got this sort of, we've the climate change has driven this sort of disaster, and then that's caused all these socioeconomic changes, which is going to be reflected in sort of the lifestyle, and that's where you get the gang aesthetic and all that kind of stuff. And so, and for me, it's just once a couple of those pieces start falling into place, then I'm like, okay, it seems like there's something here. And so then just kind of playing around with it, getting at core concept and then building the story around that. So I think once I kind of had the eco fiction kind of dystopic feel. And then once started thinking about the gang elements with it, it all just kind of fell into place, and then just kind of took it from there. So it's a blending of a lot of the things that are important to me, and then just a lot of the stories and media that I like.
Yeah. That's I love the premise. I am admittedly not as active as I probably should be with the climate change stuff. I was actually just getting into an argument though with my stepdad about that like last night. Um, but like I like that you're able to approach stuff that matters to you also with like the fun inspiration of like the early 90s hip hop scene. And even though it wasn't fun for them at the time with like the just gang wars in the streets, but like looking back at what was happening in LA in the early 90s with the big, like everybody knew the battle of the blood versus the Crips, like everybody knew that. And as white kids at a Catholic middle school, we were like, oh, to figure out how to do the blood and the Crip, like it, why? What? Why did we know that? So I think it's really like I think it's a badass take on it, and to put that into like living on a literal island of garbage. Um, I'm excited to see how that plays out because the preview art that you've got on the campaign page is just like chef's kiss, man. Like that's I don't know what style to even say that that is, but like that's the style I want to see more books have. Like the very thin line work with just the I don't know. It's almost like bleak in the background, but then the colors when they pop, they're like super vibrant, and it just like looking at it, I'm like, I okay, well, I knew I was gonna back it anyway because you're writing it, but like seeing the artwork, I was like, oh, now I'm super excited about it because this looks like a badass book. Like, who's the artist? How did you find them? Like, how did that come together?
Definitely. Well, thank you. And so a lot of what you said is due to Ennio Cristianes. So that's the artist for the book, and he's both the artist and the colorist. And yeah, I think it's really interesting that you mentioned something that I was also very impressed by what he did, and that was, this is definitely a book that has the potential to just be very bleak and very, monotone and depressing and just heavy. And what I thought was really interesting was so I found the magic of the internet, the social media. We all know how wonderful it is and all the wonderful things it's done to our world. But the good thing about it is it does allow artists and creators to connect. So found Inio. just kind of through Instagram. And that was one of the cool things. Starting a new series was just getting to comb Instagram and all the other sites for just looking for artists, and basically just came up with a big list of artists whose style I liked, who I thought it might be a good fit for the book, and just kind of started narrowing it down to top couple, reaching out, and I'm really glad that he was able to work on the book. And it was cool because I had the script written and some descriptions, but as far as like the style you were talking about, what he did that was really interesting that I had absolutely nothing to do with, was 100% him. I can take no credit for, is he added what I feel like is almost a Into the Spider-Verse-esque effect, where
Mm,
he kind of put, he got the vibe of the book. There is a lot of bleakness and dreariness just because of the setting, but then
yeah,
he adds these pops of colors and sort of these distortion, old comic booky sort of hip hop graffiti type feel with
yeah,
these really bright pops of color. And I feel like that works so well in this book, that has the potential to be so, so dreary and so bleak. And then when he adds these pops of color, especially for some of the scenes that have some more action, it really makes those pop and stand out when, a majority of the book is in this really bleak setting, but then all of a sudden you have these really bright colors and these sort of cool, he adds little effects to it and stuff, and then that really just brings it to the next level. And again, that was something he did. He just sent me some of these pages and I was blown away. I was like, that is awesome. Like, that wasn't anything I had thought of or had asked him to do, or
yeah,
anything like that. And I think that's part of what makes comics so fun, both as a medium and especially as a creator, is you have sort of this idea and this picture in your head of what the story is going to look like and all that. But then you get to work with these other awesome creators and these artists, and you get to see their takes on it and see, their insights and what they can add to it. And they add something like that, which totally elevates it and takes it to another level. And again, isn't something that I would have ever thought to ask for or add or do anything like that. But
yeah,
because he's such a great creator in his own right, he was able to take, some of the ideas I had, put his own spin on it, and take it to a whole new level. And that is, it's just one of my favorite things about making comics, is I feel like it really allows for that sort of collaboration and teamwork, and in a way that just a lot of other mediums don't really do. And so, that was one of the most fun things about getting to work on a new series, getting to work with new people, is, it was awesome seeing the territory guys and all of their touches, but now getting to work with a new group of people and see, more creators. And there's just, it's this reminder that there's so many creative people out there making so much awesome stuff. And it's just inspiring to keep going. It's like, well, there's always people who are out there making something. And if you can, help make it happen, and get to work with them, like, you're going to get these really cool things that will be totally beyond what you were expecting originally.
yeah,
So yeah, Ennio Cristianis is the artist. He's awesome. He all that was basically driven by him. Um, Rob Jones is a letterer. He's lettered a ton of stuff for publishers, Kickstarters, all sorts of stuff. Just a great letterer. He's already put some of the cool stuff into the book. As I've talked about with Territory, a letterer, a professional letterer, or an experienced letterer makes such a big difference. They're the unsung heroes. I think it's
mm,
not something people necessarily think
yes,
about, but once you start to notice it, and especially if you start to work with someone that's a good letterer, you'll see how much they can add to a book. And then uh, Eric Gladstone's the editor. He's been great to work with, just really helped develop it. And I also got to work with someone named Eric Walker. He goes by King Create, and he's actually an LA artist. He's done a lot of street art, graffiti, stuff like that, a lot of
oh,
other
cool,
art projects as well. And he was actually the one that did the logo. And that was a cool thing about this, having that LA inspiration, wanted to have an LA street artist work on the book somehow. And so getting to have him do the logo and see what he did, and, kind of have this real like street art feel to it, was really cool.
yeah, yeah. I'm a sucker for just like looking at graffiti. like I've always been fascinated with trains, and like my grandpa and I, anytime a train would pass, we would always roll down all the windows and just sit there in silence and like count the cars and look at the graffiti that was on them and like listen to the wheels on the tracks. And so that still happens. Like I still roll down the windows and listen to the train go by. But now, like as I've gotten older, I pay much more attention to the graffiti on it than I am like trying to keep track of how many cars there are. And it's really interesting to me, like the difference of styles of graffiti, but also like everything that's on those cars, you're immediately like, oh, that's a tag. Like those are taggers that are doing that. And like thinking about what they're going through to get to this silent or quiet train yard where they can spray paint their logo or their name or whatever they're spray painting on these train cars. Like that level of artistry is something that I like. If I could go back and tell kid me like, hey, figure out how to do graffiti but like legally, I absolutely would, because that's like just the design and the colors and the way that they start with one color. Like I'm, you know me, I'm a process junkie, and I watch a ton of like graffiti videos, watching them just do like, here's a solid bubble of blue, and then suddenly they've turned that into like a full forward phrase, and it just started with a big blob of blue. And it's because they layered in all these extra lines and colors and highlights and all this stuff. And so like seeing the logo for it, and then hearing that it's like Garbage Lords is all about the gangs and working on how things are coming together, and seeing like the different rivalries that are going to be happening. um I just like that makes me even more excited about it. And you've got something that I want to have eventually on one of my campaigns, and you've got like the custom bandana with the logo on it. Like how did you where did that come from?
Oh, well, I just want to shout out because Punk Rock Chris is in the chat and he said the danger is part of the beauty of graffiti. And I totally agree with that. And what you were saying, like I used to doodle in my my notebook,
Yep.
as a kid, and
Yep.
I would do just like doodle graffiti and I loved it. And I wish I had learned to actually do some tagging and mostly legal, but it would have been fun to actually do some to do something, to get out. And I think that is part of the graffiti culture. And it's cool now that it's become more recognized as an art style and there are a lot of legal places to do it and you see it
Yep.
done, and be recognized. But I do think there's always that, I mean, you talk about punk rock, like graffiti is to me about as punk rock as it gets, is getting a message out there in a loud, colorful way, not necessarily listen not following the rules, but
Yeah.
just out there getting your message out there. And that was, so getting that feel into Garbage Lords. um and sorry, what was your question? I meant to get back to it, but I just wanted to address that before I forgot.
No, I the you've got the custom bandana as an add-on, and like because I want to figure out how to do that, because I couldn't tell you the number of shows that I've been to that somebody on stage either has a bandana around their neck, around their wrist. Like I had one around my wrist for years. Um, so I definitely want to look into figuring out how to do custom bandanas. Like how did you? Why is that one of the things that you ended up with, and how did you figure that out?
Definitely. Well, so again, with the '90s inspiration, the LA street life, the gang life, definitely like the bandanas, the colors, all very, iconic and synonymous with that. And so, I again trying to think of how to capture sort of that aesthetic, but do it in this new setting. The
Mhm.
bandana seemed to transfer really naturally. That's a way. Again, these characters are scavenging for everything that they have, but they're just finding some piece of cloth, something they can use as a bandana to show camaraderie and to show that they're part of this group, this gang, and and to represent who they are and what they are. And especially in this sort of setting where they have to fight for everything, like being able to represent who you are, who you're with, whether that's to show strength, whether that's to show solidarity. I think there's a lot of power in those colors and those bandanas. And so wanted to that was something I wanted to incorporate. And then as far as the rewards, um, with territory, I thought it was fun trying to think of ways to bring stuff from the territory world into backers' hands. So we did like the pendant that Alkia, the main character, wore,
Yep.
and so the bandana just seemed like kind of a natural fit here. You know, something that's not too elaborate, but also is very iconic, is very you know, specific to this book and to these characters, and something that, you know, really feels like it's a part of the world and isn't just a generic like t-shirt or something like that. And then as far as like how was just Googled custom bandanas, and you know, fortunately there's some sites that will make custom pretty much anything. Just depends on what you're willing to pay. So there is that factor to it.
Yeah.
You know, but I think also um, you know, when you're looking at the campaign part and the Kickstarter part of it, you want to have something that makes it feel unique and stand out. And so you can't just do, you know, the same couple of rewards over and over again. You want to have some, at least to me, you know, I like when I see something that's like, oh, that's unique, but especially when it's unique and it really feels like it connects with the campaign specific to that campaign,
Yeah.
that really always jumps out to me. And so I was trying to just think of something that really felt like it came from this world, but wouldn't, you know, it wasn't something you saw on a lot of Kickstarters, and the bandana just seemed to be the perfect fit. So then it
Yeah.
was cool. You know, it's not it, again with the bandana, you don't want this huge elaborate custom design or anything, especially with these characters. It's gonna be something simple. And it's almost we went with almost like a Watchmen-esque effect where it's got the Garbage Wars logo, but then it's got like the little blood splatter over it just to show again the
Mhm.
struggle, the fight that these characters are going through.
Yeah. Yeah, and seeing it, I love, like you said, I love rewards and add-ons that come straight out of the like the comic book world, because like anybody can make a T-shirt, right? Like you can. There's so many campaigns, and because I've backed way more than I should ever have backed, I I always look at the add-ons, because even though I might not have money, if there's something like that that sticks out to me, then I'm like, oh man, that's freaking sweet. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, okay. Add that to my play. Like, I can't help it, because it's those things that like I know I've shown it off for, my shame stack of bookmarks that I've gotten from Kickstarters. It's like I have like 45 bookmarks. And why? Why do I have so many bookmarks? I don't know, because they end up as stretch goals because they're easy to make, they're low cost. I get it. uh and if you don't back a ton, it's good to have a bookmark. But like, how many bookmarks can I actually realistically use? I've started to like, I begin reading books and then I stop just so that I can use another bookmark. But now as a result, I have like 5 books that all have bookmarks, and I'm like, I don't, which one was I reading? I don't even remember what I was reading in this
Yeah,
book anymore.
don't know what's happening. I'm sorry I've contributed to that. You know, there's bookmarks with garbage stores, there's bookmarks with all the territory campaigns, but I'm with you in that I do bookmarks because I like them. I feel like I'm not huge on a lot of the extras on Kickstarters. You know, I like to try to think of ones for my campaigns people like, but personally, I usually just do like the book and then maybe some simple stuff. The bookmarks to me are one of the things I do because you get good artwork, it's
Yep.
easy, it's practical, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. So like you, I have a collection, you know, a stack that's
Yep.
however tall, and I'm like, well, you know, I almost look at them as just I can flip through, like they're almost like trading cards or something now. You know, I
Yeah.
can look at them and just kind of see and be like, oh yeah, I remember this one. This was a cool book, and but yeah, it's funny, and I think that's one of the things with Kickstarter is, you know, and I'm sure you're in it now, like as a creator, you're like, oh, what's all this cool stuff I can make and offer and all this, and you realize like it, you know, especially people that back a lot of Kickstarters, they have so much stuff that they don't need anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you also have to find that balance too of like, oh, I don't just want to overload you with random junk. Like I want to make
Yeah.
stuff that's cool but not excessive, and you
Yep.
know, everyone's line for that is different. So it's just kind of funny seeing where that is.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that we could start a support group for like, we have too many bookmarks anonymous or something.
Yes, I would need to be a member of that group for sure.
But yeah, I do. It's funny that you mentioned that they're like trading cards, because I have a ton of trading cards too, and a bunch of prints. But like at this point, I feel like I just want to get like a binder, like an old like 3-inch 3-ring binder, and then just get clear, page page things, whatever they're called, and just put the prints and put bookmarks and whatever flat random stuff that's easy to ship and makes total sense for a creator to add as a freebie or a stretch goal or whatever, and like just put all of them there so that I have it all in one space. I mean, yeah, that's my Kickstarter stuff. And if I want to,
Yep.
feel inspired or like look at cool art or just look at something that another person made instead of looking at whatever tech or online whatever nonsense, like just having it there. And because now it's piled up, they're in bags, and it's like all stacked on like in my office, and I gotta like dig. I have to. It's an effort to even pull it out to then look at it all, and then I'm like, yes, there's just too much stuff, and so it just stays there because I don't want to go through pulling it all out. But I think
hundred
I think
percent.
the binder thing is probably the way that I'm gonna go, uh, because like it's right there, the Marvel Fleer 90, not 97 or whatever. Like all the trading cards are in there. The posters that came with the trading card box that I bought are in there. Like, and that's what made me think, why don't I just get another binder and put them all in binders? And then, because I'm going to use the same like four bookmarks, and they're all, you know, like different bookmarks that matter for different reasons. Like I have one that fits perfectly with paper, the little like pocket paperback novels that I use. And so at this point, I know like, oh, okay, I'm going to use this bookmark for this type of book. And that sounds really some sort of way.
I mean, I think you reach a point where you, like, have to though, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I because I'm with you. One of my projects that I keep telling myself is that I'm gonna organize, A, my comics in general, but then specifically my Kickstarters, and it's something that I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do that," and, I do hope to someday actually get around to that, but I'm also, somewhat realistic in that the chances of it happening, at least in the near future, aren't great. So, hopefully
Yeah.
it will, but yeah, and I think, and so I think that's where going back to the bandana, I think having something like that that isn't just gonna get put with the stack of other stuff that people be like, either they pin it up or they wear it or whatever they do with it, but then it's something that, sticks out a little bit more, will hopefully be like, oh yeah, okay, I remember that book. That one was, the one that had this, and I got this cool thing from it. And so yeah, trying to find ways to have that where it does, just stick out a little bit more than sort of the usual stuff. And it's not easy because, again, like, you can get very ridiculous with it, it can get very expensive, so there is a balance. But I think, when you do find something that you're like, oh, this is cool and this feels like it works really well with this project, it's fun to throw it out there. And the other thing about Kickstarter is, at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you just move on, and
Yeah.
it's not like you're producing a million of them and you have to sell, like, at the end of the day, you're gonna do you find what works and what your backers like, and you just stick with that. So
Yeah. Yeah, we're going through similar right now with our chapter one. Where like we're making a festival poster because they're like going to this big music festival. So we're making one of those with a bunch of bands on it. So we're gonna have like the old school like quad folded poster that will get stuffed into the book. We've got like a VIP pass because again they're going to a festival. So like we have a lanyard. Um, and like a button, and Chris is learning how to do like screen print patches and t-shirts,
nice.
as if we were working a merch shop at at a festival. Like everything that we're doing with our different tiers and add-ons this go around was like, if we were that band and we were going to this
Yes.
festival, like what would we be doing? Let's do that exact same thing, but it's in the real world and not in our comic book world. So uh yeah, it's that's that extra like 5% that I like to live in, of like anybody can do a Kickstarter, anybody can make a comic and have cool stuff and have add-ons, but like that extra 5% for me is the creators that are thinking like, well, how do I tie this into the book? How do I make this something tangible that people can be like, oh man, that's clever. Like if I get one person that's like, ah, I see what they did, that's what I want, and to back it. But like having people to recognize it, right, is like that's half the battle.
100%. And like you said, I think, especially as you get more familiar with Kickstarter, whether you're a creator or you just are looking at a lot of projects, backing a lot of projects, like those little things start to stick out. Like you start to notice, okay, like this is cool. I haven't seen something like this before, or, this person gets it. Like this feels unique to this campaign. And, because yeah, eventually, like, it can, just like anything else, it can get, pretty repetitive if you're not careful with it. If you're just sort of going with, oh, well, I've done this before, it works. Let's just kind of keep going with the same formula. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I mean, there's, guys who are extremely, creators who are extremely successful doing that.
Yeah.
But I think you do recognize, okay, this is that little extra bit. This is that thing that really kind of, shows they're not just invested in running a successful campaign, but they really, were thinking about their book. What makes this book work? What makes this so cool? And they're trying to make that happen. And that, I think, is just cool. It's cool to see, and it's cool as a creator when you feel like you find something like that, but it's also cool as a backer, and hopefully that's the kind of stuff that I think builds. And again, speaking like that to that core audience we talked about earlier, those are the people that are going to appreciate that because they're invested in your world or your work or whatever it is. And so giving them something that's specific to it, is sort of a good way to kind of reward them of like, hey, I appreciate your investment. Here's something that is unique to this that, you're not, that other people aren't going to get just from sort of the standard stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Chris mentioned in the comments, like it makes the world feel like you can reach into it and not just, you know, like be a bystander of it. You can participate in it, and that only increases the buy-in, which then only increases the commitment that the readers have to you, and hopefully brings them back and all of those things. So there's that free advice for anybody that's watching that needs to tap into that extra 5%. We're just giving this knowledge away, is all we're doing. What we're not giving away are comics. So you're to get logistics about your campaign, and I wrote it down. Pardon my like really janky looking cardboard. I'm gonna put this up for anybody that can look it up. Walk me through the campaign though. Like, where are you at? I know you've got 13 days to go, but like, what's something that you're excited about with this campaign?
Definitely. But yeah, so like you said, 13 days left. So a little under halfway left, or a little under halfway on the campaign. I think one thing I'm excited for with this campaign is just seeing building, sort of rebuilding that core audience. It's been cool because there were definitely some territory backers that came to this one,
Mhm.
but it's cool seeing some new people too that, you know, territory, it had the kaiju and that kind of stuff. And there are people that backed it for that. It'll be interesting to see, what sort of people are interested here, whether it's the environmental themes, the gangster themes, or just whatever aspect of it is about garbage lords that really, builds that kind of core fan base. I'm just curious to see kind of what that is, and get to talk to people about it, get to, hear their thoughts on it. Like you said, when you're working on one of these books, you are so in it for so long that you just, you're in it and you're working on it. And then I think it can be hard to step back. And so it's cool getting to talk to people who haven't been in it, for as long, and so they're able to give you sort of a fresher set of eyes and a new perspective. And so I'm excited to just to see that, and to hear what people are excited for, which parts of it they enjoy. And yeah, I think, I think the book has a lot of, I think it's really relevant for right now. We're also doing a donation to the Ocean Cleanup Project for every backer that we get. They're
Mm.
an organization that helps take plastic trash out of the ocean, specifically in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. So, very relevant to the book. And so that's something that, getting to support a cause like that, getting to tell a story that feels really relevant right now, and getting to hear which parts of that story connect with people. um I'm just excited, and just something new. Territory was awesome, but, you know especially the last campaigns, it did feel very much like, "Hey, I kind of knew, knew the core audience, knew what I was doing, which is great. Now's a
Yeah,
chance to sort of, start over and, take some of the lessons I learned there and hopefully apply them here." And so just curious to hear what people think about it.
sweet. So I will make sure once I like republish the recording of this, that I've got the link to the campaign. Where do people find you best on social media?
Definitely. So Instagram's probably the best bet. Just BMC Comics, and then I'm also on Blue Sky, and then Kickstarter. So
Sweet. Um, Dude, I'm glad this worked out.
yes, well,
uh,
I appreciate it, and it's cool, man. I wanted to congratulate you too. I think the last time we talked, you were talking about starting your own books and doing it, and that you you kind of had some ideas and stuff, and it's just so cool. Like the Kickstarter community, the creator community is so awesome, and it's
yeah,
so cool to see people who were backers turning into creators and stuff, and I think that's awesome. And so I'm excited that you're a part of it, and excited to see what you do, man. It's really cool.
sweet. Thank you. It definitely is like the unexpected, like really sweet thing about doing comics now is seeing I love seeing names that I don't know because that means that we somehow found new people. But seeing names that I do recognize, especially people that have been on the show that I've talked to on their show, like seeing those names as backers for my comics is like it's just wild. And I like Chris and I regularly talk about like just the community of indie comics is so similar to the community of like the punk scene and the alt like emo kids, and you look out for each other there, and now it feels like indie creators are all looking out for each other here too. And it's the best, like it's the best thing to be a part of. So
Oh,
um
100%.
yeah, so super stoked to be in it and to be a part of it. It's great hanging out with you. um I will, like I said, I will get the link for Garbage Lords in the description, so it's super easy for anybody to find and back. And shamelessly, I'll put Barricade Brigade in there too,
Yes,
because
please
we
do.
also have 14 days to go. So that'll be there, and then those are all the things, man. It's good hanging out. I've got a question for you that I'll message you offline about,
It's
because I
good.
gotta take it off of my. I tried to do a thing on my phone and it didn't work, so I got to try on my laptop. And now that I've talked to you about it, I'll let you know if I still need your help once I try it on my laptop. Um, but otherwise, great hanging out with you. I love seeing all of the events that you're always doing in the Denver and Colorado area. Like it's, I'm like, man, you find all of. I wish we had half as many events here in Ohio that it seems like you do out there. Um, so yeah, good hanging out with you, man. There's no easy way to end these. So take it easy. We'll be in touch. And for anybody else that's watching this, go do what's good for you and make some artwork because I want to see it. We're out of here. See you, dude.
Yeah.